For our next story, let's turn back the clock. The year was 1978. China was under Deng Xiaoping. The government sent its brightest minds to the United States. Scholars, scientists, engineers. The mission was to learn from the West, bring that knowledge home, and modernize a nation still finding its footing. US-China relations were just beginning to thaw. So education became an unlikely yet powerful bridge. By the 1980s, that bridge became a superhighway. Chinese students flooded American universities. They excelled, and many stayed back. These students were the symbol of growing US-China ties. But that changed as the relationship soured. There were whispers of espionage. It turned into investigations. Then came the visa crackdowns, and now a sweeping new move from Washington. The US plans to revoke the visas of Chinese students. Why now? What does this mean for US-China relations, and how does Xi Jinping's own daughter feature in this story? Let's start with the announcement. Like I said, the US is revoking visas for Chinese students. It is for two types of students. One, those linked with the CCP, the Communist Party of China. Washington has not specified, but we know that the CCP has around 100 million members. China has around 400 million families, so basically 1 in every 4 citizens is somehow automatically linked to the Chinese Communist Party. That's one category of students. 2, the students who are studying in critical fields. Again, Washington has not specified what is critical, but chances are they're referring to fields like advanced science, technology, engineering, and medicine.
The United States, I further can say here, will not tolerate the CCP's exploitation of U.S. universities or theft of U.S. research, intellectual property, or technologies to grow its military power, conduct intelligence collection, or repress voices of opposition. The Trump administration is focused on protecting our nation and our citizens by upholding our national security and public safety through our visa process, obviously very openly and transparently applied by Secretary Marco Rubio.
So how is Beijing responding to this? China is calling the move discriminatory. It has accused Washington of weaponizing national security, also damaging the rights of Chinese students.
China firmly opposes this and has lodged representations with the U.S. This politically discriminatory practice by the U.S. exposes the lie of so-called freedom and openness that the U.S. has always touted, and will further damage their own international image and national credibility.
The U.S. is home to 1.13 million international students. Some 277,000 of them are from China. That is 1 in every 4. 1 in 4 foreign students on American soil is Chinese. That's a lot of students, and they are now in a limbo.
If this situation of not getting a visa really, truly happens to me, then I might consider applying again next year. And when I reapply, I'll probably consider places outside of the US, like Europe, as well as regions such as Hong Kong and Singapore.
China will see a reduction in brain drain. Some people may not want to return after studying and living overseas. But with this policy, more people might reconsider going abroad to study and live.
But right now, Republicans are not worried about all of them. They're fixated on just one student. Her name is Xi Mingze. She's the daughter of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Now, let me show you a tweet. It's by a right-wing activist called Laura Loomer. She claims the Chinese president's daughter, Xi Mingze, is living in Massachusetts. Apparently, she studies at Harvard. And Laura Loomer wants to go confront her. Now, as of now, this is a claim that Xi's daughter lives in the US. Xi Mingze is Xi Jinping's only daughter. She leads a very private life. She did study at Harvard, but that was from 2010 to 2014, and she did so under a pseudonym. She earned a degree in psychology, and Chinese officials say that after that she returned home. But now reports suggest that she went back to Harvard in 2019, and this was to resume graduate studies. Apparently, she lives in Massachusetts with Chinese guards. Like I said, these reports have not been confirmed. Both the US and China are silent on the matter, but here's what we know. In 2019, a Chinese technician was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Do you know what his crime was? Leaking Xi Mingze's ID details, I-card details. So clearly, Beijing is very protective about her. And this tweet exposes a tricky contradiction. If Chinese students are a national security risk in the US, what about the child of China's most powerful leader? Will the US expel Xi Jinping's daughter if she is still at Harvard? And where does that go from here? The pause on visa appointments is temporary, but it may foreshadow a lasting shift. In his last stint as president, Trump cracked down on Chinese students. This time, he's moving towards a more restrictive policy. China may retaliate with its own restrictions. This could fuel their decoupling. But what about the students? They're navigating an academic world that now feels more like a border crossing. In the late 1970s, Chinese students arrived in the US with hope. In 2025, they arrive under scrutiny and suspicion. Yes, education is no longer a neutral space.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka kaljo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
$4 trilhões.
Portuguese,
Por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.